Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the new Tier 5 Pan-Asian cruiser. Sorry, had a brain fart. I apologize. But yeah, so the new Tier 5 Pan-Asian cruiser, the Rahmat. I apologize if I say that incorrectly. That's the best I got. Alright, so let's look at our commander. We're running Chin Xiaoquan. We are running Francesco Membelli and Charles Madden as our two inspirations. We have Beyond Range. We have Blind Justice. Again, early on, you may want to swap this one for this, but I prefer having the detectability, buff. So there's that. Plus, you buff the torpedoes, which are pretty nasty. Back in stock, again, buffing the torpedoes. Could, again, swap that out for Sponge early in this play, or early in this line. And then we're running Smoke on the Water because we do not currently have a torpedo reload booster. Okay, so keep that in mind. And, of course, we're running Refill Station for the extra DPM. All right, now, we are running, not aiming systems mod 1, we're running main battery mod 2 to try to get the turret traverse even better on these things. And we are running propulsion mod. Propulsion mod on this particular ship may not be the best choice. You may want to go with steering gears to get that buff to the steering. But being able to start and stop, mostly start and go quicker when you're coming out of a smoke screen, for instance, comes in handy when you're popping out from behind an island quickly, that sort of thing. Like if you get spotted and you need to get going, propulsion mod comes in handy for that. So since these ships tend to be stopped quite a bit because you're in smoke screens or utilizing island cover, propulsion mod probably your better bet, okay? But just keep in mind, the rudder shift on these things is not particularly good. So we are fully upgraded though. We're running the Italian Unity flag because it kind of looks like a Spartan helmet if you hold your tongue right. And we're running just a regular Type 4 camo to get the detectability and incoming fire dispersion buffs. The one thing that is different between this one and the previous is that for consumables you get a defensive AA buff. I have yet to go up against cruiser or a carrier, so this hasn't really come into play for me personally. We're not running any boosters. Survivability 23,600 hit points with a 7% torpedo damage reduction. Artillery, you get 133mm 50 caliber QF Mark IIs. So not the 152s that you had at Tier 4. These are 133 mils. What you get, though, is a faster fire rate. You get 10 guns in a 5x2 configuration. They reach out 15.4 kilometers with this build and have a 6.6 second reload time, which is pretty nasty. 180 degree turn time, 14.4 seconds. So much better, but still not great. HE shell maximum damage 1900 with an 8% chance to set fires. Now remember, these are 133s, not 152s. So these are like 5.2 inch guns, maybe 5.5 inch guns, something like that. They're bigger than regular 5-inch guns, but smaller than 6-inch. So somewhere between 5 and 6 inch. AP shell maximum damage is 2550. Torpedoes, you get 533mm TR Mark IVs. You get 6 of those, a triple launcher on either side of the ship. They reload in just 70.5 seconds. And you can start to see that these torpedoes are going to become a problem later on in the line. Early on, you only get 3 of them per side. They're not going to be that great. But later down the road, they're going to be pretty nasty. And they do hit pretty hard, 16,867 damage. Detectability, because they are deep water, is again 0.8 kilometers, so you don't get much time to react. Torpedo range is 10.2 kilometers, so fantastic. And torpedo speed, still on the slow side, but not horrendous, 61 knots. AA defense, you get 20mm Oerlikon Mark IVs, you get 5 of those, doing 18 damage per second, reaching out 2 kilometers. Then you have the 40mm 56 caliber OQF Mark 7s, you get 4 of those, doing 35 damage per second, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. And you can start to see that these things are going to start becoming an AA gunboat, okay? With the AA range starting to get pushed out a little bit. Even with their better AA, you know, the rapid fire AA, it's getting pushed out to 3.5 kilometers already. So 40mm Bofors Mark IVs, you get 4 of those, doing 45 damage per second as well, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. And then, of course, the 133mm 50 caliber QF Mark II dual-purpose main guns at Tier 5. You get 10 of those doing 41 damage per second, reaching out to 4.5 kilometers. And again, I don't understand why it's 4.5 kilometers for the main guns when the secondaries in the last tier could reach out to 5.5 kilometers. I don't understand Wargaming's balance for AA in this game. It doesn't make any sense. I really don't. Maneuverability, maximum speed 32.3 knots. And again, that's the main gun. That's a dual-purpose main gun. You'd think it'd be able to fire that flak as far as it wants. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't be limited to 4.5 kilometers with a dual-purpose main gun. Sorry. Maximum speed 32.3 knots with a 580 meter turning circle and a 6.5 second rudder shift. The rudder shift is sluggish, which is again pointing back to if you're going to be open water gunboating this thing, you may want to spec into some rudder. But personally, I think being that you're going to be stopped a lot in smoke screens and behind islands, that the propulsion mod does come in handy. Concealment. Detectability is still very good on these. 10.1 kilometers by sea, 6.7 by air. 2 is always guaranteed 5.5 kilometer smoke firing penalty. That's a pretty solid smoke firing penalty for a cruiser. Okay, put that in perspective. That's a better smoke firing penalty than even the Mino. Okay, Mino I believe is 6. So keep that in mind. All right, so armor, once again, you don't have any armor, okay? You have a little bit of armor to protect you from cruisers. If you angle really well against cruisers, you can definitely bounce cruiser shells, but be careful against cruisers. If you open up too much, you, again, do have that raised citadel that is going to be easily punched. However, just like her sister ship from earlier, or her older sister, she has a raised citadel, which is actually further above the waterline, but it is further back than you'd expect. It, once again, does not go all the way to the front turret or all the way to the rear turrets. It is solely underneath the, it's the engineering space, underneath the freaking smokestacks and to the rear, the innermost rear turret. That'd be, what, ABX, that'd be the Y turret, I guess? I don't know, maybe that's ABC and then XY. Maybe it's an X turret. I don't know. Y'all will be able to give me better ideas than that. Anyway, so it does have a massive citadel. It's not the biggest citadel in terms of length, but again, she's a wide ship. So again, if you do get caught angling, especially by battleship caliber guns, anything from Graf Spee and Scharnhorst up will absolutely neuter you. So keep that in mind. That being said, do not sleep on the AP on these cruisers. Don't do it. Just like American cruisers, utilize the AP whenever given the opportunity. HE's great. HE sets fires, damage over time is always a good thing, but if you get an opportunity to use the AP on these things, use it. The AP is fantastic on these. Okay, hidden. Good concealment means the ship can get closer to enemies before being detected. Deep water torpedoes are harder to spot but cannot hit destroyers. Sluggish shot, difficult to aim at long distances, but the trajectory allows for effective fire from cover. All of these things are going to be a theme among these ships, so keep that in mind. Rahmat, a Dido-class light cruiser built in Great Britain, a small ship armed with dual-purpose artillery designed to protect a squadron or convoy from attacks by destroyers and aircraft. She entered service in 1940, and there were 11 of them in the series. So, again, being an anti-aircraft gunboat is going to be... It should tell you everything you need to know about these ships. They are support ships. These are not going to be your typical, I'm going to carry my butt off cruisers, okay? They are very, very good, but they are also very, very fragile. So carrying in these ships is difficult if you do not have spotting. Spotting is so important for these ships. If you don't have it, you're going to have a bad time. Just throw it at that, okay? Anyway, let's take a look at her. Again, a very modern looking cruiser. Like this looks newer than a tier 5 should. You know what I'm saying? This is supposedly entered service in 1940, so it's not super modern, but it was modern for World War II, you know, within 2 years of the war starting. But overall, not a bad looking ship. It sticks up a lot out of the water, and it's very flat armor. That's the other thing you're going to notice. It's very, very flat. It's not really angled. So any shells that do come in, they're going to pin, most likely. It's very difficult to angle against anything that isn't cruisers. Cruisers or destroyers you can definitely angle against, but even destroyers can citadel these things, so be careful. Alright, and with all of that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Atlantic. and we're not going to get the best spawn in the world, but we're going to try to make the most of it and play the ship the way that I think that most people probably want to try to play it, which is keep your distance a little bit and then wait for opportunities to strike. These things are ambush predators, okay? They love catching people out. These things are nasty. And like I said, do not sleep on the AP. I'm going to show you guys why. I'm going to show you the AP. And for the love of God, cruisers, stop going broadside to other cruisers. Because if the person on the other side of the fight knows how to use AP, they're going to ruin your entire existence. Okay? Keep this in mind. Stop going broadside, folks. You gotta learn. You gotta learn to angle. I know this is only tier 5. I know that this is a thing, but for frog snacks, man, there's so many broadside cruisers, and you're gonna get to see all of them. Okay, it's gonna be juicy. So we're gonna push forward with our destroyer here. Again, one of the advantages of these things is they're sneaky. They also have the smoke screen, so they get a little bit of a get out of jail free card. You know what I'm saying? So get out of jail free cards. I've talked about them before. These aren't the longest lasting smoke screens in the world either. I don't think I've mentioned that. These are not an American gunboat sort of smoke screen or a British smoke screen. These are kind of an in-between. Like they're not short duration, but they're not long duration. They're kind of like just average, I guess would be the best word to put it. But they are very handy, and they do come in handy for situations like on a map like this where you don't really have any island cover that you can utilize on your side. It still allows you to push forward with your destroyer. Don't necessarily engage right away, folks. Let people come into your trap. Pretend you're a trapdoor spider. If you don't know what that is, look it up. All right. Actually, that'll be today's assignment. If you guys, the first person to explain what a trapdoor spider is, I know it's really hard to comprehend considering the name is literally exactly what it is. But anyway, the first person to get it right, down in the comments below, explain it in your own words. I don't want somebody to like copy and paste off of Wikipedia or something. I'm just saying, explain it in your words. And the first person I see that does it, I'm gonna pin you, okay, down in the comments. But anyway, we let the Normandy come forward. We did get spotted initially, but pay attention to what's going to happen here. We know one destroyer is out in front of us to the right? Because that's where we were spotted. We were spotted right before he went behind the island here. So we know he's going to be going to the right. You can see I'm starting to think about launching torpedoes in the direction. These are slower torpedoes, so you want to put them out there. And then, of course, we see the T-22 get spotted. We're going to try to hit him. Though at these ranges, it's not easy to hit a destroyer, especially if they try to move. It's just like an Atlanta. Like, if you're at like 8 or 9 kilometers when you get a spot on a destroyer, it's actually kind of hard to hit them. And that's what we're running into here. But watch that we get spotted in our smoke screen. Why would we get spotted in our smoke screen? We already said that we have a 5.5 kilometer smoke firing penalty. We know this, right? So that T-22 wasn't the one spotting us, which means the other destroyer is behind us in the middle. How do I know this? Well, because he got spotted. He spotted me while he was in the gap, and sure enough, there's the torpedoes. That's why I angled myself to that particular direction. I knew that the destroyer was there. I knew that he was going to be a problem for us. So now we are going to flip around. But those torpedoes were not meant for me. They were meant for the Ishmael. And so, unfortunate that the Ishmael didn't pay attention. But, yeah, is what it is. We're going to continue to move forward. Now, our smoke screen, we got a little bit of work in. We didn't get much. We have not done anything in terms of damage, but don't worry, folks. That's going to change. Now, you can see we have a broadside Grafspee here, and we're going to try to get some shots on him. And again, I'm new to these Pan-Asian cruisers, so getting my bearings in terms of what I can pin, where I can pin, how much I can expect out of a salvo, and, you know, using the torps perfectly and stuff like that. All of these are nuances that you have to learn by playing the ship. And speaking of, we're going to have HE loaded here, and then that's when I realized I got a broadside Devonshire at 6.2. This is death. I don't care what cruiser you're in. If you're broadside to one of these things at this range, you're dead. I will switch to AP, and I will ruin him. And down he goes. 2 Citadels, he's done. But look at the accuracy at these ranges, too. That's the other thing. We're not running aiming systems, okay? Now, aiming systems will come in handy later on down the road when you're firing at longer ranges. But early on, when you're firing at these closer range engagements, like, you don't really need the aiming systems. And having the better turret traverse does come in handy for these moments where you're trying to maneuver your ship. Now here you're going to see us look at the Graf Spee. We're going to see if we can't finish him off. You can see even shooting at an Omaha at 12 kilometers, it's difficult to land the shots perfectly. Graf Spee turns in, he gets away from it. Anshin, actually, to his credit, takes out the Graf. And so we're going to try to focus the Omaha, but also I see the bow voice, so we're switching to HE to try to finish off this little destroyer turd. So we get rid of him. Easy kill. He didn't have much. And now we're looking at Furry Taco out there. We shoot HE initially, and then I believe I switch over to armor piercing here in the very near future. Maybe we shoot at the Giulio here. I can't really remember, but this broadside cruiser in front of me backs out in front of a Giulio. That's going to end terribly, but he goes down. Big surprise, I know. But we're actually going to do basically the same thing, except remember, we have a smoke screen, right? Now here, you're going to see the dead corpse of the destroyer is actually going to be a slight problem here, because I can't launch where I want to launch. So anyway, we switch over to the HE. We're going to try to burn down this Giulio a little bit, and we're going to look for targets of opportunity as best we can. We're shielding ourselves from the guys on the right. Remember, everybody that's over there, except for our destroyer, is dead. So we have to keep that in mind. So shield ourselves from them and focus down the targets that we can. Those torpedoes from that cruiser that backed out in front of the guy look beautiful. They're going to land. Furry Taco gets spotted full broadside here. We're going to have AP loaded, and look at this. Watch this salvo. Over the island, beautiful look. We're going to switch back over, or actually we're going to stay on AP, but we actually get 3 Citadels out of that salvo. Again, landing 7 out of 10 rounds on target on the broadside of that Furry Taco. We tried to hit the superstructure of a Giulio. Knew that this was a lesson in futility, but I was really hoping that this guy was going to eat this torpedo, but unfortunately not the case. He gets turned in just enough to avoid that deep water torpedo. But you can see we've switched back over to AG. We're going to let that go. We get an early fire. We see the broadside of the Furry Taco again. So we're going to switch over to AP. Get ready just in case he decides to go full broadside. Unfortunately, we don't have the spotting. This is where that spotting comes in real handy. I'm also paying attention to the smoke timer up there in the top left corner. You can see our smoke's getting close to running out. We're going to try to reverse utilize the island cover as best we can. We want to shield ourselves from the Furry Taco. He should be inside our smoke detection penalty. So we want to do that. We're using AP on the broadside of a battleship at range, trying to figure out whether or not we can actually pin it. And we do start to get some pins, but unfortunately our detention has been split. We have Omaha pushing up on our right, and we have the Furry Taco going around the island to the left. And again, he is broadside and begging for it. He is angled slightly here, but he's turning towards us. We land a couple of hits, and there's another Citadel. These shells don't do a lot of damage with Citadels. Remember, it's like 3,300. But Giulio Cesari's still on fire. We take another shot with AP downrange, tried to hit him to finish him off. Omaha's pushing in. We're going to keep the AP loaded because we're going to force this guy to be broadside to us as he comes around this island. And everybody knows that Omaha broadside is death, right? Everybody. Doesn't matter what ship you're in. Destroyer, cruiser, battleship, doesn't matter. Broadside Omaha equals dead. So we take a shot here. We get 3 Citadels, and then we're going to go ahead and beach because we're expecting torpedoes. And of course those fell short because reasons, and then we finish them off, getting the dev strike because we reload our guns so fast. And now, expecting torpedoes, we bounce off the island, and we angle ourselves towards the direction that the torpedoes will be coming from to make ourselves as skinny as possible. Fortunately, he's a new player, probably doesn't know what he's doing. He launches into the island. I don't know if he expected us to stay there or what, but either way, that doesn't happen. Now, the 2 destroyers are going to meet each other at the cap. I am now going to try to take out the Furry Taco. You can see I do have 1 smoke screen left, and utilizing the smoke screen in this situation was probably a stupid idea. I will just say that right off the bat. This is not the right time to utilize this. There's not really a chance. The reason I did try to use it is because I was worried about the battleship behind me. But look at where I am versus where he's at. The likelihood he can squeeze a shot through that island, slim and none. We've got all of our hit points. Taking this Furry Taco down should be relatively easy, especially if he keeps giving us a broadside. Once again, we're going to beach here. We're fully intending to beach, by the way. And what we're going to do is just back straight off the island. We're trying to bait his torpedoes. He's broadside. You know they're coming. We get another 2 Citadels on him. So we're going to back up, get ourselves skinny, make sure that we're in a situation where we're not going to get ruined. You can see I check on our destroyer. Our destroyer managed to kill their destroyer. And now's the point where I wish I had gotten my smoke screen. So if I still had my smoke screen, I'd be able to. There's the torpedoes running out before they get here. I thought this Normandy was going to be heading towards our base. He doesn't. He, in fact, turns around to go defend his own base, which is actually the right call for him because there's a battleship encroaching on his base. So he's going to try to do that. So because of the fact that we don't actually have a smokescreen in our back pocket anymore, we're going to have to use island cover to the best of our ability, which is going to mean a lot of really shaky auto aim and trying to find the target while they're trying to dodge. And you know, in open water, this thing can absolutely be ruined if you're not careful. The sluggish rudder shift for a cruiser that has a raised citadel is just it's a lesson where it's a disaster waiting to happen. That's what I was looking for. But we've got the Normandy. We're going to go ahead and use auto aim. You'll see me zoom in and out, trying to figure out whether or not he's changing course. I'm also paying attention to the map, so every time I see him change course, you'll see me do the same thing where I'm trying to double tap the aim button, trying to get the auto aim to snap onto him and figure out just where I need to aim. And I'll adjust the aim as well if I think we're aiming in the wrong spot, or if I need to add a little bit more lead so that we land further up on the ship so that we're getting damage rather than just shatters. But we are going to get some fires here on this guy. As you can see, he's turning away from us again, so the auto aim is wrong. As you can see, they're all going short. That's not the game. That's not a bug or anything. That's just where I was aiming. And remember, these shells take a long time to get to the target at these ranges. There we get a fire on the Normandy. And we can barely make out the top of his mast over the island, so that's what we're basically trying to shoot at here. We're trying to adjust our aim, give us a little bit more lead. You can see we're not quite aiming far enough out ahead, so you'll see me auto aim in and then move the cursor to the left, and then and just keep firing. And what we're doing here, utilizing the islands that are on the map, you can see these things firing to the moon. So you've got all of the ability to lob over islands that you could ever ask for. This really reminds me of any American cruisers that you play. Like anytime you play an American cruiser, you know that you can pretty much, with the exception maybe the heavy cruisers, even though the heavy cruisers can lob as well. Not quite as good as the light cruisers. But you can lob over most islands in the game, depending on your distance to the island. But yeah, so at these ranges, I don't really land a lot of shells, so I'm trying to get closer, but also maintain the island cover. I don't want him popping around the corner. Remember, the spotting points on ships, if you're not familiar, the way you get detected in this game is the top of your mast, your front mast, the biggest one. The very tippy top of that. If it's sticking over the island and the enemy's is sticking over the island, that's how you spot and get spotted, okay? You have to have line of sight between the top of your mast and the top of the mast of the person that is going to spot you, or you spot them. Okay? Otherwise, we can spot them just because our teammates are spotting them. As long as we're within our firing range, we'll be able to see them. Or pretty close to our firing range. But you can see we're burning the guy down pretty well. We've done a heck of a job in this one. We got 4 kills. We're looking for the Kraken. The enemy is pushing towards our battleship, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sad because I was hoping that we could get this fire, or this double fire, to burn this guy to the ground. He is going to die here, but unfortunately, right before we get the kill, he's gonna get finished off by the enemy, or by the friendly battleship. So he's gonna yoink our Kraken out from underneath us. Look at him, he's got no health, and our New York steals it. So you gotta love it. Kraken denied. But it's still a heck of a game. 13 citadels. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. 13 citadels in this match. 80,000 damage. 178 targets hit. We have high caliber and a dev strike. Top of the leaderboard. 2,000 base XP and a tier 5. That's pretty solid. Let me know what you guys think, and don't forget, we are on the path to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, be a part of something great, and if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, and as always, I will see you in the next video.